Cheers, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to this live wrap-up. So I wasn't going to be here today. I had a live stream with a bunch of friends yesterday, and I figured I was off the hook for today because I'd be driving for 11 hours. But then we had some snow intervene, and I was afraid I might not make it out alive if I set out this morning at 6 in the morning. So I am still here in Portland, as you see, and my trip has been delayed 3 days. So I'm communing with the spirits of all those passengers of wooden ships who had to wait for the sails to unfurl in the right wind. So for now, I am a hostage of the weather, and we'll try to carry on here without unpacking as much as possible and then join my family a few days later. So that is what is happening here. So I was going to do this on Wednesday, but now it's a Sun Wednesday wrap. And I've got 9 books for you that I've read in the last 3 weeks or so. They're from all over. There's a research read. There's an Irish readathon, even though it's only just March. There's some Black authors books, and then some sort of mishmash in the middle. So we can dive right in as soon as I say hello, everybody. Hello to the chat. In case you're new here, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Margaret Pinard, and I'm a historical fiction and fantasy writer and eclectic reader. So I do Booktube, I do Authortube, and today is a Booktube mostly day, 90%. So let me pass the baton to the chat. I think it's just Anita that's here with me today. Yeah. Hi, Anita. Here a minute early. Nice to see you. I am going to also, before I start, say thank you to everyone who participated in the Black Authortuber Readathon, which is in the February that just concluded. We had people who made videos of their TBRs and reviews, including Bethan Verninga Sokolar and Sandy at Ms. Reads a Lot and S.D. Houston and Leslie at Bookskers and Purrs. I think Shannon and Leslie are the MVPs of this readathon in terms of books read and reviewed online, which is amazing. You guys' efforts are much appreciated to boost the signal. And then also to say thank you to all the authors and readers who came on as guests for the opening, the debut panel, and the thrilling conclusion, which was last night. So that would be Tiffany Russ, TL Russ Lifestyle, Callie Browning, Antoine Bandele, Deidre writes romance, Vixen of Fiction, Chanda Arthur, Britt Riderly, Morgan Lee, and CM Lockhart. You all have extra credit in my book if I'm going to continue with my teacher personality from last night. And I really, really appreciate your participating and just making it a fun, joyful event. So very cool. On to the 2025 Black Authortuber Readathon. Ahoy! So, first half of the books today are going to be overlays. Hop over to here. And I'm kind of going chronologically. So the last book I left off with was Sharon C. Cooper book. And she's an author who I've had on my wish list for like over a year. I saw her spicy tweets, which were very well done in terms of just a log line and a picture. And like, it just made me think that these were going to be romances that I would really enjoy reading, and I was right. So this is the one I chose, Love Under Contract. It's one of the Jenkins and Sons construction series, and very well written contemporary romance. There's a second chance element. There's also this is non-spoilery, so I'll just say a trope that is one of the least liked by me. And it was introduced in this as somewhat of a surprise element, so that's why I don't want to say what it is. But it was really well done and integral to the plot. And so I said, bring it on to YouTube and like join the Authortube ranks. But you know, you got to choose your platform and you can't do them all. So I totally understand. So well done. The next one I have today is my research book. So a little bit ago, I did a roundup of the 3 research reads that I had almost finished, that were from the interlibrary loan system. And if you don't know what that is where your library system, for example, your county, can request another county in another country or another state or university to loan them on your behalf one of their library resources. And so if I'm looking for obscure tomes like Scotland and the Abolition of Black Slavery, 1756 to 1838 by Ian White, that was a necessary step. And so not only are we back into the age of interlibrary loans being possible, yay! I just heard yesterday that requests for purchases are also back and reinstated, which is amazing. That's the second yay. And then the third yay is that our central library is finally open. It opened like 2 days ago, after almost a year or over a year of being closed for refurbishments. And I was really hoping it wouldn't just be like landscaping changes. But when I went in, I saw several interesting developments, and I didn't have the time to stay, but I definitely want to do a deeper dive to my central library when I get back and have a little time, because it was very cool. Okay, so off track a little bit there. Interlibrary loans, library love, got it. But this book was the third one that I finished. I think it may be the most inspirational and the most like helpful facts that I found in the books that I looked up. I was looking for the Irish immigrant presence in the Glasgow area in the 1830s and 1840s, and how they interacted with or participated in social movements like the Reform movement and labor combinations and abolition. And so it's kind of a hard subject to find all at once, but this was a really great book. I got a lot of leads in terms of people who had comments on abolition and how it made its way through Parliament, what different people thought, how they justified their views, and how things ultimately ended up as they did. So very interesting academic research read. So I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but maybe the library system part will be. Next, Leslie, hello, happy Sunday. Leslie, you can rewind to catch up if you want to know why I'm still here in Portland instead of driving down south. So the next book, number 3, is Rust in the Road by Justina Ireland. And as you can see by this square cover, I listened to this on audiobook. That's just the audiobook format for the image. And this was my first time. Oh, that's right. I put a little quiz question in the chat. These are all first-time authors for me, except one. Who have I read before? I'll put that in a little scroller so people can try and guess if they come in late. Which book's author have I read before? Ooh, mysterious. There we go. Just for a little fun. So this was actually the Patreon book club pick, and I think we picked it out of 4 books. It's a historical fantasy by a Black author who is more famous for Dread Nation, and I think that has a sequel. Maybe she's planning a third. But what I found out in the author's note is that she was doing lots of research in the Library of Congress and kept seeing pictures of people in the time frame she was researching, and wanted to bring their lives into a story in a way that she couldn't in a zombie story. So this is what she did on the side to take a break from the zombie story. And I thought, oh, interesting. I can see that, because this is a young adult alternate world that is very similar to ours, but in the 1930s there is magic. There's a similar inequitable system, but this young woman has left her country home to come to New York City to try her hand at being a magic worker, and can't make it on her own, ends up as a last resort applying for a government job, and then meets some very interesting people and is swept up in an attempt to fix something that turns out to be not what it appears. And I was really pulled in at the beginning. I love the parallels with our world. I love the let's see, what did I say in my notes here? The things that are familiar, and like the slang and the details and the world building at the beginning. And then it sort of started to lag a bit in the middle when we hit up against that big conflict, and we're wondering, is it what we think it is or is it not? It's pretty clear that it's not to me. But we take a long time to figure that out or to be believed. So the pacing kind of slowed a bit. And then the last chunk is really fast and sewn up really quickly. And I would have liked more at the end. So, like, strong ideas, strong character, main character. But I think the young adult aspect slowed it down because there was extra explanation, as well as the secondary characters not getting enough page time or motivation or sort of depth, which makes sense when you think it was something on the side that she was doing with her other novels. But I do like the dialogue. I do like the ideas. So I would definitely be interested to perhaps read Dread Nation or something else that Justina Ireland writes. Fourth one we've got is A Holdover. So why am I reading a Christmas romance in February? Well, I'll tell you, it's because the library hold took that long to come in. So this is Midnight at the Christmas Bookshop, a novel by Jenny Colgan. And this is the first time I've read Jenny Colgan. And it has all the trademarks of a Margaret classic romance. It's set in Edinburgh, set in a bookshop. There's an underdog, like all these things. There's sort of a second chance romance, but it was a little too schmaltzy, a little too Hallmark for me. So my notes. I was hesitant because of the Hallmarkiness, but I gave it a try. And there were some great magical moments that I loved. Like when she discovers a certain view over the city and it's like magical. But some characters came across Dottie, absent-minded just for plot reasons, and so therefore not very good character, or vague, and slowed down by illness, and that just seemed like for pace reasons. So there were things that I felt were not as tight as they could have been, which took away from my enjoyment, but I did like the magical moments and the Edinburgh setting and the bookshop workings. And there was nothing outrageous in the running of a bookshop that made me roll my eyes that meant someone had no idea how to run a bookshop. It was like they had some experience or like knew the in and out of the day-to-day. So that was good too. But yeah, I don't think I'm needing to try another of that author's because I think they'd probably be pretty similar. So that's our halfway point, and I'm going to remind anyone, if you are curious, to like the stream, subscribe for more. I'm just getting off one readathon of Black Authortubers books and climbing up on another, which is the Irish Readathon. And give me strength, right? The next thing that I have to let you all know about is my next live stream will be the Fireside Chat on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Fingers crossed, from Sacramento, where I'll be speaking with Nicole Pierman, and that'll be International Women's Day. And I'm probably going to do some fun low-key writing exercises while talking with Nicole. So it should be nice and easy and fun. Okay, are we ready for the physical books? Yes. And yes, okay. What's first? Gonna go in chronological order again here. So, okay. I had a major library haul maybe 2 months ago, and these 2 books I sort of read as a pair, and I'll tell you why. So we'll start with Vera Wong. Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto, who is famous for Dial A for Aunties. And it's a mystery. It's contemporary, set in the Bay Area in Chinatown, and it concerns a death in a tea shop run by Vera Wong, who is a middling old lady. And it involves all the people she considers suspects and what she does to try to solve the crime on her own. And I will say it's very clever, it's very funny, and it's very lighthearted. So if you're looking for like a light mystery with a bit of heartfelt, they come to Jesus moments, but like heartwarming moments among family or among self-realization, you'd probably be in the mood for this. I think it was lovely. So again, lighthearted. So yeah, 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. There's I don't know what the background of the author is. Dial A for Aunties I thought was Filipino, but the Chinese woman that is depicted in this book comes out with some very stereotypical phrasing and opinions and prejudices. And so, you know, depending on your point of view, you could find that very blunt or very offensive. I'm not sure. I'm sure the publisher knows what they're doing because this is a very popular book. But I know some people might be criticized for portraying an Asian character like this, but perhaps because it's such a lighthearted setting and, you know, it's meant in a good way and she's actually reaching out to people from a good place character, that it's not a big deal. But, you know, just to be aware, that sort of hit me. So that lighthearted book was paired with this one because I couldn't get through one without the other. This was very, you know, schmaltzy and corny are not the words I want to use because that's too far, but lighthearted in a way that was like a little sugary, whereas this one was like not at all. So I had to switch back and forth between this, which was really heavy and depressing and oppressive, and that one, which was like sugary and fun. So this book is We Are Not From Here by Jenny Torres Sanchez, and this is a 5-star read for me this year. It's a library book. So it's also a Pura Belpre honor book. I guess it's like the Newbery Caldecott Award. It's got a little thing on the front. And this book is about 3 kids from a Central American country who are in a very tight spot and in danger of their lives and decide to try to emigrate to America. They don't have parents, they don't have chaperones, they need to leave without adults. And so they're teenagers, and it's basically about their decision, their journey, and the, you know, like the, I don't want to have any spoilers, so I won't say aftermath because there's not much aftermath, but like the result, the end of the journey, and like multiple moments that made me cry, really emotional, because you're getting into people who are just kids as characters having impossible choices put before them and having to experience violence and just terrible things and trauma, and figure out their own coping mechanisms and see if like their hope wins out over the world, basically, because that's what that journey represents, is like the hope that they will make it to a better place. And I've never read a book like this. It really left a deep impression of what migrants go through to get as far as they do, and what the odds are that are so stacked against them to succeed in any way, whether that's reaching their destination or having that better life that they see for themselves. So really, what's the word? Affecting, I guess. Like, I'd never heard stories told this way. They're in third person and first person. It's switching between two of the characters' points of view, but I think it's still third person and first person. So you get a bit of a different sort of distance from the characters. Really effective, really good writing, really painful stuff on the page. So again, this is why I had to like switch back and forth, because this was just really heavy, but really, really good. 5 stars. Let me see if I said everything. Yeah, I think I covered what I meant to say in my notes. Okay, so that was really good. Again, use your library, read all the books you can, diversify that shelf. That's what I'm aiming to do with mine. 3 more books. Still going chronologically. I took this one with me on the plane and the train, so that's how good it was. This big old chunker that's bigger than my head. The Mars House by Natasha Pulley. And just to plug here, I will be hosting Natasha Pulley on my channel March 13th for A Mighty Blaze, and we're going to be talking about this book, which hasn't come out yet. I have an arc. So very excited about that. And so what should I say in advance? I'll just give you what the premise of the book is. So the Mars House is actually taking place on Mars. It is about a colony that is 7 or 8 generations in, where there has developed a very similar type of society and government as Earth's, meaning it has inequalities and it has power imbalances and prejudices, and that affects the laws and how people's lives end up unfurling perhaps. But we end up being introduced to this shining pair of people who may interact in such a way that would change all that. Maybe. So it was very exciting. You're doubting what's real, what people really feel. You're doubting what's physically possible on Mars. But I will say, this is the author that I have read before. I really loved Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley, and so that's why I was very excited to read this and interview the author for A Mighty Blaze. And she has an element of magical realism in both books, in that she's harnessing science and the sort of feeling of a supernatural force to introduce mysterious elements and like what humans don't know and what do we know, and that sort of theme, which I really liked. So I would recommend this to so many different people. It's science fiction, but it's also literary fiction, and it's also social commentary, and oh god, there's so many good lines in this that I'm gonna be excited to talk to her about. There's a lot of really good examination, like casual, subtle, but deliberate examination of gender, not the gender binary per se, but just like the concept of gender and how we treat it here on Earth and what we may be moving to in the future. Interesting stuff. So definitely recommend that. And yeah, March 13th, which is Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Did I miss anything? Morally gray, well-phrased arguments make you think of Earth debate. Clever, funny. Yeah, so highly recommend. Please read and then come with questions. Yeah, it is a surprise. Hi, Shannon. Shannon got a shout out at the beginning of the stream too, so you can rewind just like Leslie did. All right, second to last book. This was another February goal because it's by a Black author. This is Zadie Smith, and the book is The Fraud, and I got a signed copy. Rare instance of getting a hardcover for me, new book. And that was from a local bookstore, so very valued. So I just saw Brittany, literally Smitten, give this a low score. And I can see where she's coming from, but I would give this like a solid 4.5 at least. I really enjoyed this because not only going through did I enjoy all the humor and historical references and world setting detail, I also really enjoyed the pointed social commentary. So just like this, like these books are both doing it for me because they propose parallels between a made-up world or imagined world and our own time right now, which I think are really poignant. So the premise of The Fraud is it's sort of a dual timeline, but it's actually multiple. It skips around. So you're mainly in 1872 with this Scottish widow, and she's keeping house for a distant cousin, and she's been doing this for like 30 years. And in 1872, the thing dominating the news in the UK is the Tichborne claimant case, right? This guy comes back and he's saying, he's responding to an advertisement that says, if anyone has any information about this lost heir at sea, he turns up. He sort of satisfies a few of the criteria, but like has a working class accent and, is a lot portlier and, I don't know, just doesn't remember French, And so people are very skeptical about accepting him as the heir when the other one was lost at sea. So there's this big court case because he refuses to give it up and they refuse to accept him as the heir. So the claimant, this is the first meeting of The Fraud. Is he a fraud, right? Meanwhile, we keep going back to the 1830s, 1840s, the period under investigation by me right now, and looking at sort of the formative period of this Scottish widow housekeeper when she was a new widow and she was a new housekeeper living in her cousin's household. And there was an interesting relationship, to say the least, with the cousin's wife, and the guests that came over, all the like the literary greats. So the distant cousin is actually a real person. The housekeeper is actually a real person. The Tichborne case is obviously a real historical event. And so Zadie Smith is taking all these real people and imagining backstories and motivations for them, which is really compelling. So the time when Ainsworth, I say Ainsworth, and Brittany said Ainsworth, and she was listening to the audiobook. So maybe it is supposed to be Ainsworth. And he was like a minor celebrity, and he dined with Dickens and various other literary, brains. I don't know what to call them. And we all know Dickens, but nobody knows his name nowadays because he was really kind of a rambler, kind of like Sir Walter Scott, right? And no one reads those. Well, not many people read those nowadays. So we see the formative years and what sort of went on. And basically, the Scottish widow is our window into seeing poignant moments when she's wrestling with what's the point of life, where is my freedom, what is right, what is truth, what should I be doing with my life, all these big questions. She's still struggling with them in 1872, but we're getting to see the political discussions of the day and the jockeying for position and favor, and it's all very exciting. So I lit up. I think this was like the perfect book for me right now. Plus another one that I just bought in London. So yeah, you would think it'd be really hard to find the exact research topics that I'm looking for, but sometimes I'm getting very close, and I think the closer I get to all these axes coming together, the more excited I am about my work in progress. So anyway, The Fraud by Zadie Smith. 4.5 stars for me. Funny, clever, poignant, pathos, a lot of parallels with our current world again. And I will say there's other meanings of the fraud besides the guy who comes back from Australia, of all places, claiming to be this lost heir of England. There's also the political system itself. There's also the famous writers discussed. And I just loved how she layers the self-doubt and, if you want to call it imposter syndrome, into the different characters and the whole society. I just thought that was really cool. So I enjoyed that. All right, go chauffeur. We'll see you later, Leslie. All right, final book here. This is the first that I will have read for the Irish Readathon, and it's a picture book. I don't know that I call it for children. It's not X-rated content, but I don't know. I'm not sure how this is positioned in the market. The title is Tree Dogs, Banshee Fingers, and Other Irish Words for Nature by Monaghan Magan, illustrated by Steve Dugan. And basically, it's a big format book with big print, and it's just featuring some of the words in nature with these sort of pretty, they look almost like, is it woodcuts that you block print? And it's explaining some of the meanings in Irish that are peculiar to Ireland. So it was really well explained in the introduction here. So let me read that paragraph. I think it's the last one. Maybe? Okay. Over the course of a time span, we've developed precise ways of describing our surroundings, our psychology, and our hopes and fears, and also of describing the incredible complexity of the ecological biosphere that has sustained us almost exclusively through the majority of these millennia. That line actually caught me up for quite a bit. Almost exclusively for the majority of these millennia. And moving on. Ultimately, its aim is to alter your perception just a little. So when you know different words for things, you think about the things differently. The words gathered in these pages should leave you with no uncertainty about the poetry, wisdom, divilment, and insight contained within our glorious old tongue. Gaelic is our birthright, something that we should be immensely proud of, not only for its cultural wealth and social and psychological subtlety, but also for the insights it offers into the flora and fauna, the climate patterns, the moon cycles, the ocean currents, and the otherworldly dimensions of this our island home. So I've talked about the little book of Scottish rain, where I have all those different phrases for different types of rain in Scots. It's kind of like the 40 words for snow in Eskimos that used to be a proverb, right? Rain in Scotland, and then some of these in Irish. So for example, otter. Dovarhu? I don't know how to say it. It's in the back, but translates as water hound, as opposed to Dovar-eich, which translates as water horse and means hippopotamus. An otter is also referred to as a Matrowiska, water dog, and as a Doran or Kudoran. Dog. Water dog? Anyway. They talk a little bit about superstitions, and I don't know. It's just nice to hear. I think I didn't hit the right paragraph, but one of the paragraphs explaining the book says something like, he was influenced by knowing the literal word in Irish for something first, because it had a completely different feeling than the word in English. Like if we had, I don't know, rock, but in Irish it was something like, why am I making up examples instead of finding one? Let me find one. Ginnin, small potato, also means insignificant person. It's just, they're funny. Let's see. The ambling gait of a spancelled goat. Horse, ox, sundew, cow. All the words for cow. Oh my gosh, there's so many words for cow. Comfrey, a stoat, whirling girl, magic doorway. There's a fun one for fantasy readers. So, Kovla Frake, magic doorway, speckled door. This doorway into the fairy world is found in fairy dwellings among rocks. It's invisible unless you know where and how to look. So it's words for nature and things that you don't understand, and opening your mind in new ways with language. So who's not for that, right? Yeah, Anita says looks like a cool coffee table book. Well, the reason I got this is because Martin McGann, he's on my wish list for 32 words for feel, and my library had this book, picture book, rather than 32 words for fields in their system. So this is what I got first for the readathon, and now I know that it's a cool view, so I'll probably maybe find his book somewhere else. My throat is running out of lubrication, so I think I am done for the day. But again, thank you to all the people who participated in Black Authortuber Readathon. Thank you for watching today to catch up on my last 9 books read, because I was going to do this on Wednesday and it's snowing on the way there for the next 3 days, so I am delayed, and I figured I should do that now instead of Wednesday when I'm driving. And finally, my next planned stream, fingers crossed, is the Fireside Chat with Nicole Pierman. We're going to do that this Friday at 5 p.m. And we'll do writer exercises, but also talk about some of Nicole's Irish researches and fun stuff like that. So that's all I have for you today. I'm going to go drink some more water and figure out what I'm going to do with the next 3 days. Happy March 3rd. Happy weekend. I hope you guys get some rest. Take care and have some good reading to do. And I will see you again soon.